Hogstye.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Hogside. We are in mid-season form at this point as Washington gets ready to take on the Green Bay Packers. It's going to be an exciting game, and I'm going to miss it because I'm going on vacation, which happens, unfortunately. I wish I could, tell my family, just stop scheduling vacations, during football season. Let's do these all in, February and March, after the Super Bowl, but, you gotta do what your wife says sometimes.
That's called first world problems, Alex.
I know. It really is, especially when you're going, to the tropics like I am. But Jamal, Steve, how you guys doing? Jamal, you said you were taking a few days off, right?
I did. This is my last day. I am doing good, but no, you're fine because I took a couple of days off last week too. I went to Philly for a day and a half. So this week I just
that's fun.
Yeah, I just needed some time off since it's absolutely nothing going on right now at work. Like we're in a downtime of our audit periods. But I'm doing good.
Would you like to disclose where you are currently?
Yeah, I work with the Department of Transportation.
No. I don't mean that. You said you were on vacation. I said you took a couple days off.
No. I'm sorry. So no, I got it confused. No, I'm actually no. It's just me going and vacation is just not working. This one is just not working. That's it. I ain't really go nowhere.
Okay. It's a staycation, as it were.
Stay home.
Staycation. Yeah. But no, that's it.
My vacation is covering the Washington Redskins people, or Washington, whatever you want to call them. So that's my vacation.
Right. Well, someday you're actually going to take a vacation where you go to training camp or something. That'll be your actual vacation.
If all these years I have not had vacation days, which is why I have not taken vacations. So I actually do now. So maybe I will actually go to training camp one of these years.
So you might as well, man. So experience that.
Yeah. Although it's no longer going to be in Richmond, so you don't get to experience the fun of North Richmond.
I actually forgot that. So I'm over here thinking about when y'all talk about training camp. I'm over here thinking about ZZQ and Mama J's.
Right.
And goddamn, forgot it's not there no more.
Nope. If you want that stuff, you just gotta go there.
I'll just have to go to Loudoun County. Strikes.
Yeah, imagine telling all your friends back home about that trip.
Seems like there's some psychopaths running Loudoun County now, so maybe it's a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we should get into talking about the team.
Do we have to?
Two. Yeah, I feel you. I was actually pondering, should we just start talking about the name change again at this point? Do we really want to talk about on the field stuff? But there is some off the field stuff we should start with. Big story A today. They released up Dustin Hopkins. Bring on the kid with the funny name who's escaping me, and somebody tell me the name. Blew it. I blew it. Dang it.
And he blew it. He's heard this 85,000 times. So it's probably not funny to him.
Well, he's heard it about 30% of the times he's made a kick because he's a career 69% kicker. So,
Yeah, I don't really get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know y'all out there hate Dustin Hopkins, and you're wonderful. But the fact of the matter is he was a pretty consistent, average NFL kicker. And, okay, so if Ron wants to get rid of him, fine. This was the end of his last year of his contract anyway. They only renewed him for a year, so, fine. I mean, he's not a family member of mine, whatever. But I don't understand this blew it kid. I mean, 69% in college, several years ago, and he's never kicked
since
made a kick in the NFL at all. I don't really get that at all, and I don't get why. I mean, again, you do you, Ron. It's fine, but I don't get what the big deal was this week that they had to do it necessarily. I mean, what was that one missed field goal was the straw that broke the camel's back? I guess it just seems weird.
Yes, that was the linchpin. Totally would have changed the face of that game from a 30-something 13 loss to
31 to 16. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's what it is.
I don't know, man. I'm having a hard time just and I ain't gonna lie to you. It may just be let me shut up. It may just be the position itself, but I'm having a hard time coming to grasp about why it's even a big deal. for one, obviously we all know Steve is on one side with this and I'm on another side. I don't have a hatred though for Hopkins himself. I don't even have it's just I felt like he's not trustworthy. I can't trust him at any distance. And it's been a years of accumulating to be to that point. Like I understand, like for example, if a kicker ends the season with 6 missed kicks, and the 6 missed kicks are like 47, 48 and out. But sometimes you see things from Dustin Hopkins where he's missing under 45, and we know that he's not. We know like prior to that, like he wasn't that trustworthy from 50. So I just felt like for me, this is my personal experience. I just couldn't trust him, and from what I'm hearing today, like essentially when you see a kicker in that instance where the trust is lost with the coaches, then that's kind of, it is what it is. Like it's completely done. I don't know about the Chris Blewett dude. You know what I'm saying? I'll just keep it short with him. I don't know about the Chris Blewett dude. That's kind of questionable within itself. It may have just been something they've seen over the few times he's been here on the practice squad that convinced them that he's the guy to move forward with.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, he's, by the way, if anybody's wondering, he's University of Pittsburgh. Is right. Where he came from. And Alex is right. He was about a 69% kicker in college, which isn't that good, so I don't totally understand him. But, yeah, I'm not going to cry over Dustin Hopkins. Yeah, I don't agree with Jamal, which is fine. You know, I think the numbers kind of show otherwise, but it doesn't matter. He's gone. Blewett is in. Let's all hope that he does well. I mean, ultimately, they're saving a wee bit of money, a little bit. You know, not that it really matters, but that could be part of it. I mean, they cut Nick Sundberg for monetary reasons, basically. So, yeah. I mean, it doesn't surprise me a whole lot that Hopkins is gone just for financial reasons, too. So, you know, if they can get about the same, roughly the same performance out of this Blewett guy than Hopkins for less money, good for them, I guess.
I mean, we'll see. I was I
have my doubts personally.
Yeah, I have my doubts too. I was a big Kai Forbath guy, Steve. You and I were even doing the show when Kai Forbath, I think, was
really
cut.
dumb of them to cut him.
Yeah. I mean, he did not have a strong leg, but he was very accurate. It felt like. But so like, look, this happens. Kickers get cut. Even though I think it's, I don't trust anyone who blames any of our losses on the kicking game. Just it tells me you probably haven't been paying attention to these games.
That's crazy. Yeah, have you not watched this team for God's sakes?
Right.
I mean,
we have
if anything, it's the 2 wins that would have been the kicking issue with the kicking.
Yeah, ironically, Hopkins, you could argue, won us 2 games this year because we have the worst defense in the league. The offense is not been good either. So let's fix it by, cutting the kicker.
I guess the bigger question to me is this some sort of signal by Ron Rivera? And I bring this up because right before Showtime, I watched Rick Snyder's Washington thing on YouTube about
his 2-minute thing.
While I was sitting here waiting, for the show to start. And Rick's opinion was basically it's not that big of a signal because it's just a kicker and nobody cares about the kickers anyway.
Right.
I just can't imagine. It'd be different if he cut like a linebacker, but I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily means anything. I think Ron just got tired of Dustin Hopkins for whatever reason.
Yeah. I this is not Al Pacino or not Al Pacino. Who is it? Robert De Niro taking a baseball bat to the guy at the dinner table in Untouchables. This making an example of a guy. This is just kind of it's much less than that. It's not Landon Collins, who's probably been their worst player of their starters. So
I don't know about that, but certainly he's not one of the good ones.
I would argue he's probably that guy.
I would
argue
don't know that the fans think that.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans think that. Yes.
Just to finish off the roster moves since they also the practice squad churned a little bit, and they made a couple moves. Where we ended up with at the end of the as of Wednesday when we're recording this is Kelvin Harmon is back and remains. He got cut and then brought back a day later. And then
he was cut Monday, brought back today.
Yeah, exactly. He spent a 1-day vacation home or something. And then linebacker Dejon Harris is now with the team. So that's roster moves for the week. And as long as I'm doing this, let me knock out injuries real fast.
Yeah, okay.
It's a long list.
One.
Yeah, so here's the DNPs for Wednesday. Sam Cosme, Antonio Gibson, Charles Leno, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Brandon Scherf, Ricky Seals-Jones, and Chris Sims. And then the limiteds were Jonathan Allen, De'Ami Brown, and William Jackson. And on the Packers side, Kelly, the tackle, DNP, the center, Myers, DNP, safety, Savage. I'm not sure he's a starter. DNP, our buddy Preston Smith is a DNP, and that is injuries.
So you mentioned the DNPs, and I actually want to focus on it for a second because of something Ronald Rivera said in one of his pressers earlier this week, where he said they've been so injured it's been hard for them to even conduct some practices of late. And you go through that list of their receivers who are out.
I'd like to know who's left.
Right. You are down to your slot receiver, your punt returner, and a small forward who you're converting into a tight end. That's it. Like, for the most part. Even J.D. McKissick. Okay, and J.D. McKissick, let's say he's there. Because, he's actually...
count him as a receiver because they may have to?
I think so. But that's kind of where we're at this point.
Yeah, literally the healthy ones are DeAndre Carter, Adam Humphries, and Dax Milne.
Right. And then you got the two rookie tight ends, and that, it's not
the guy who's never played football before.
Right. That, like I said, the small forward, because I'm assuming he would be a small forward if he were still a basketball player, just judging by his size. Yeah.
It's just crazy thinking about it as y'all are explaining. Like the injuries for Washington for like the first 2-3 weeks, they were perfectly fine, and all of a sudden, boom. Logan Thomas goes down, and it goes downhill from there. Like, Jesus Christ. It's incredible, this list.
Because they also have 9 people in injured reserve, don't forget.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Thomas is there. Is Scherf on IR? I can't, or was he just out?
No, he's not on IR. The IRs are Bostic, Dylan Kentrell, obviously Fitzpatrick, Derek Forrest, who's about to come off. Jalen Jelks, Torrey McTyer, Jared Norris, Darryl Roberts, and Logan Thomas. With Derek Forrest getting ready to come off IR, I probably would assume, because he practiced last week.
Right. So you look at that list, and it's actually not the worst IR list there is. There's only 1 or 2 names that really upset you. Maybe
starting quarterback and the starting tight end.
Right. But the others are backups. So, if
John
not
Bostic,
lower.
one of the starting linebackers.
Hey,
you know what? He was playing when they were there. Now they're down to 1 linebacker.
He was playing. That's the most that you can say about him. Oh, yes. It's not a good situation. And, so like when Ron said that, I was like, that seems like a bit of a, overstatement. Then you look at that list and you're like, oh, no, he's serious. You really don't even have enough guys to run a full practice anymore.
Especially the wide receivers. My goodness, what happened to you guys? I mean, that's not to say they're all going to be out for the game, but
it's just the fact that people not on the list or whatever. I don't know.
If you're not practicing, it's harder to improve.
I think at that point you're going to be seeing a lot of J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson lining up somewhere at the wide receiver position. If it does happen to be down to those 3. They got the experience, and they talk about that position flex or whatever that thing that he talks about, the versatility and stuff like that. So, it will be interesting. It kind of puts a new wrinkle in the offense, see how Scott Turner could use something like that. But, that's all you got.
Well, I've kind of always wondered why they don't do it more to begin with. I said it a year ago when they, didn't have some of these new guys like Samuels in there. I was like, man, you got 5 or 6 guys who technically can play running back and wide receiver. Just go with it. Go nuts. But they didn't, really.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing this year. You have all these guys who can do it, but Scott Turner doesn't seem to embrace that, why not get creative philosophy. So, it's frustrating to me as somebody who, maybe it's just, my Madden armchair quarterbacking mentality.
Well, that's part of it, but I think that is honestly part of it. But
sure,
I think you had a good point on the game recap show, Alex, when you said that Scott Turner doesn't seem to really have an offensive identity.
Right.
With this play, that I think is legitimate. I mean, is this a running team? Is it a passing team? Is it a zone running team? You know, what is it? You know, is it a dink and dunk, short passing thing?
Death by 1,000 paper cuts, yeah.
Yeah, is it bombs away, like Rex Grossman style? What is it? And I'm not sure that anybody has. I'm not sure Scott Turner has an answer to that question. I think that was a good point that you made.
I occasionally have a good idea. Occasionally.
It's not very often. Every
No.
once in a while.
No. All right, I guess, we should talk about the game coming up here versus Green Bay as Washington gets ready to take on the very unhappy Aaron Rodgers and the very good Green Bay Packers. It's amazing how, look at pictures of Rodgers, by the way. He always I don't think he's ever smiling anymore. He's always very frowny and depressed looking.
Yeah, poor guy. He's only the league MVP, making tens of millions of dollars,
right.
Playing a child's game. I'm sure he has reason to
Dated
be so unhappy.
Millions of supermodels, yes. So
he
hard.
can spare me with his misery.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and for one of the most storied franchises in the league's history.
Yeah, it's like spare me, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. He's really a Charlie Brown, isn't he? All right, well, let's talk about this. Packers coming off a win against their rival the Bears last week.
Can I have a crazy thought?
Yeah, you want a crazy thought?
Yeah, let's start this with a crazy thought. I actually think Washington has a sliver of a chance of winning this game.
That is crazy.
Well, here's why. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
So the Packers have played a bunch of mediocre teams. Washington has run a gauntlet of a whole bunch of very good teams. The Packers have beaten these mediocre teams in largely mediocre fashion. If you really, yes, I know this sounds crazy, I really do, but if you start looking at their numbers, their offense isn't anything to write home about in terms of what they've produced. They're 14th in points. Aaron Rodgers has got a good quarterback rating, no doubt. As he always does, 104. Right. And in the receiver, what's his name, Devontae Adams, probably the best. Statistically, number one in yards, granted. But time of possession isn't anything to write home about. Third down conversions, red zone, they're below average in the red zone. Rushing-wise, as a team, they're averaging 4.2 yards per attempt. So, I mean, and look at who they've played. Seriously, they're playing the Bears and a bunch of teams that are drastically different than what Washington has faced.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Washington's going to win this game, particularly in Green Bay, but I'm saying that the Packers 5-1 thing, look at this. They played the Saints. They got pasted 38-3. The Lions stink horribly. Aren't they haven't won a game.
No, I don't. Have they? They might be.
Nah, they're on 6. They haven't won.
Oh, right. Okay. All right.
The 49ers have been fairly mediocre this year. They've barely beaten them. The Steelers aren't the Steelers of old.
No.
The Cincinnati Bengals, granted, they're better than Cincinnati of Norm, but they're still a mediocre team. The Bears, mediocre at best with a rookie quarterback, at the helm. So I just don't think that the Packers have shown that they're going out here and beating up on the Buffalo Bills of the world. So it makes me think that if Washington actually gets their act together, but let me say it like this: they have a better chance of beating the Packers than they did the Chiefs by a long shot. That's what I think.
Well, I don't think that statement's crazy. I think you look at how the Chiefs have been playing and how good they are.
Tell me what's special about the Packers' offense.
I mean, it's just Aaron Rodgers, and they have a great wide receiver. The Green Bay Packers are basically a leveled up.
No, I ain't mean to cut you off. I was just saying I was adding to it, like their running game is all right. With Aaron Jones.
They got a solid running back.
Aaron Jones, yeah. I mean, but he's not Barry Sanders. This offense comes and goes with Aaron Rodgers, as it always has. And he's good, but I don't think he's having an MVP season here. Look at his numbers: 66% completion percentage. Quarterback rating of 104.6. Like I said, that's good, not great by today's standards, at least. He doesn't throw any interceptions, but we knew that. He never has.
Right.
So, yes, they're a much better team. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think it's a little bit of a paper tiger just because they have not proved themselves against anybody but a bunch of teams that are in the same boat Washington's in, basically.
I think that is interesting. I didn't really think to look at who they've played as much like that. The one thing I will say, look, you're still going against Aaron Rodgers, but watching their game against the Bears, which I did when I got home today, just rewatched it, the Bears got a lot of pressure up the middle versus Rodgers and that line. Now, they got gashed once or twice in the run game. Like Jamal said, the Packers have a decent run game, so that's not totally surprising. But that line, you can get up there. You can get there and rattle Rodgers a little. And, well, our ends have been struggling on this defense here in Washington. The interior guys have been playing pretty well. Allen's been playing great. Ioannidis and Payne have both had good games here and there. Neither probably has been as consistent as you want, but we've always seemed to have at least two decent interior linemen playing at every game. It's kind of like, all right, Ioannidis is having an off day, Payne goes in, he's okay. Or if Payne is having an off day, Ioannidis is okay. It's that kind of thing. So, I think, there could be a way to get to Rodgers a little bit there and, rattle him a little. Not that, he's hard to rattle for a whole game. That's for sure, though. Yeah. I don't want to make it sound like we're going to get to him and he'll be shell-shocked.
Yeah, that's my thing. Like I was trying to say, that's kind of hard for me to come to terms with this team. Speaking of the Green Bay Packers, it's hard to convince me, even though y'all are making good arguments, just hard to convince me that this team can, first off, the team can compete with Aaron Rodgers. But I was going to say, first off, the fact that you played a Patrick Mahomes led Chiefs team last week, and you saw the struggles firsthand, how the Kansas City Chiefs had started the first 5 weeks. Like, they lead the league in turnovers on the offense. Patrick Mahomes had 3 against Washington last week. They struggled in the first half, but when things started to click in that second half and everything was connecting, they were playing sharp, things like that, that was a whole different story. Aaron Rodgers is in a boat where he don't make those mistakes that Patrick Mahomes has been doing this entire season. Like, he doesn't do that. Like, you're getting an efficient Aaron Rodgers from start to finish. The only thing you may get is an inaccurate pass, but it's nothing like turnover worthy. It's just like an overthrow or a high pass or something like that. Or maybe he's throwing it out of bounds. You don't get the silly mistakes or forced errors like Patrick Mahomes get. And that's kind of where it's like, in my head, I get what y'all are saying with Packers' schedule, but in my head, I think they are just they're looking at this defense as like, we can make plenty of opportunities against these guys.
I'm not even disagreeing with you. I think you're right, to be honest. Right. I guess all my point is I'm not convinced that the Packers of 2021 or, for example, the Packers of 2020, they haven't produced on the field in the same manner that they did last year. That's really what I'm saying. Yeah, I think that they're definitely looking at this game as a game that can tee off against a horrible defense. There's no doubt about that. You're 100% right. And, in terms of turnovers, interceptions, he only got 3 interceptions on the year. Washington has been really bad in turnovers. They've only had 7 that they've 7 takeaways. So it's not going to be a turnover game here at all. But can they move the ball? Well, we'll get to defense here in a minute. Offensively, though, can the Packers really turn on and hang 40 on Washington? I'm not so sure about that. Just based on what they've done this year.
I do think, you look at those teams you mentioned. Like I said, the Bears, their defense has some good players, though. Like, they obviously have, Hudson, or not.
They're the 7th best defense in the league. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a solid defense that they played last week.
Sure, even the Bengals. The Bengals was 5th in the NFL.
Yeah,
Bengals
and Pittsburgh is 12th. Yeah. Yeah, so they played some good defenses, even though they've played very average teams overall. And
they hung 35 on the Lions.
Yes. But the Lions are the Lions.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. We're the Lions. I got news flash for you guys.
We're
not too far removed from the Lions.
For sure.
Yeah. It's like the Lions the Falcons and Washington are all kind of in that same boat right now.
Well, yeah, you got to throw the Jaguars in there too.
Oh no, they're in a different boat. We're all in like a leaky small rowboat that
they're in a life raft that's about to flood and
they're in a deflated inner tube is what they're in, or half inflated, let's say.
Okay, so let's preview in a little bit more detail the Packers offense. Beyond the obvious, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
This is the Davante Adams show. You guys have
Yes.
to understand this. Davante Adams, number one in yardage in the league, 668 yards. Number one in receptions, second in targets with 66. So he's going to get the ball. He's going to get the ball a lot. He's Aaron Rodgers' favorite target. This is not a team that has got a Travis Kelce out there. Their tight ends don't do much. At least they haven't to date. It's really Davante Adams, Aaron Jones, and a bunch of other guys in terms of the people who are actually physically producing at a great clip.
Right.
So if the key I think here for Washington on the Packers offense is figure out how to shut down Davante Adams. It's easier said than done. Don't misunderstand me.
It's not even easily said.
I know, but that's the game. That needs to be the game plan. Do what you need to do. Pull the Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
We're going to stop Davante Adams no matter what, and somebody else beat us. I think that needs to be the game plan for this week.
Yeah, Davante Adams, when you watch him, it's kind of what we all hope and wish Terry McLaurin will become. He's that type of receiver. Where Terry ain't there yet. Terry's good, but he's not Davante Adams good. Where Davante, because they don't have anything else.
Bonafide top 5, like he is top 5.
He might be bonafide top 1.
Yeah,
he's one of them. I mean, you have to throw Stephon Diggs in there.
Sure,
some other, but yeah, he's certainly top 5. I think absolutely.
Yeah. Everything outside of that, you know what I'm saying? You ain't the best.
Right. You can be good, but you ain't that yet, Terry. That's what we want from you.
This year it's just it's really a dual track offense this year by the Packers. If it's not Davante Adams, it's Aaron Jones, and every once in a while AJ Dillon gets carried.
Yeah, I like AJ Dillon too,
and that's it. Yeah, he's good. I mean, he's produced at 4.6 yards per attempt, as has Jones. Equally, but Jones got twice as many carries as he does.
Yep. All right, let's talk about the Washington offense. Been struggling, starting to hear calls for Taylor Heineke to get benched. I guess in favor of Allen. They've just been struggling altogether. But you look at the Packers offense and you can name the key players. You look at their defense, it's not that kind of defense. They're okay. They're playing better as a whole than Washington's defense, but I don't see any superstars that make me, worry like that. So,
go ahead, Jamal.
Yeah, I was just gonna speak on the Washington side of the ball. I think one of the key things for Washington, and it has been like this entire year, is just the ability to, from a coordinator standpoint, find ways to get whoever's available, because things are changing now with the injuries. But even before the injuries started to pile up, finding a way to utilize your playmakers each and every week. Now, Curtis Samuel has not been available at all, but then at some point you still had Diami and what's the guy named? DeAndre Carter,
Cam Sims.
and Adam Humphries and all them guys, and Cam Sims, like my main guy. You gave Cam Sims small amount of snaps each game. The most snaps he had was in a blowout against the Buffalo Bills. And then you have J.D. McKissic, because I know Cam Sims is hurt right now, so I'm not just going to talk about him. But you have J.D. McKissic, who pray to God, fingers crossed, that he has involvement in a game plan. Like, he's not getting the ball each and every week, enough touches. Like the Saints game, he had 3 touches. And like things like that has been noticeable. That has been the only consistent of this offense, is the fact that Scott Turner has not been able to. And I guess I'll give Taylor Heineke some blame to an extent as well, because I guess it depends on if he's locking on who he locks on with. But they're not utilizing the playmakers that they do have to try and expand or make this offense much more efficient. And that's a problem.
I think, if you ask me, this is the week that Washington needs to dedicate itself to the run game.
So?
I think absolutely. What's the strength of this team right now?
Yeah, probably
with
the
all these players.
Run blocking and run game, yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. And J.D. McKissick, getting screen passes and catches in the flats. But I think you need to lean heavily, assuming he's healthy, on Antonio Gibson and him and his broken shin.
Yeah.
Whatever the issue is. I think that's sort of the only chance. I had one stat. I got to throw a stat out here because this is what I do. The Packers' red zone defense blew me away.
Okay.
Their opponents have scored touchdowns in 15 of 15 trips to the red zone this year.
I saw that.
Wow.
They have 100% TD percentage in the red zone, which is obviously last in the NFL. 15 of 15. Crazy. That considering who they've played, that's just mind-boggling to me.
Right.
But that also tells me, again, I think this is dedicate themselves to the run game. To me, the Packers are not that good, and their opponents are averaging 4.5 yards a carry, which is 25th in the NFL. They're better against the pass than they are against the run. So, and Washington's had a time of possession problem this year, for sure. And you're facing Aaron Rodgers, keep him off the field for Christ's sake. So, to me, with all these receivers hurt, I think you got to just dedicate yourself. Now, whether Scott Turner can do that or not is a totally other story. But I think that's what they have to do.
No, I think that's a good point. And, the question of can Scott Turner actually do that? And also Jamal's question point earlier, it all does stem back to what is this team's point? Like, what is your overall plan here? Because being a run-first team would control the clock. That helps your defense overall way more than this aired-out team that they've been. I don't know for a fact, but I get the feeling that Washington might be one of the more pass-heavy, not controlling the clock teams in the league very well.
Well, I have this, if you'd like to know, because I have all these numbers.
Sure.
They are not an overly pass-heavy team. They have 204 passing attempts, which is 18th in the NFL. And then rushing, they have 154 attempts, which is 17th in the NFL. So they're fairly balanced. And granted, they don't get a lot of third downs, so they've had a lot of short drives. But in terms of they're pretty balanced in both by NFL standards, at least on both sides.
That actually surprised me. I would have thought they were way more lopsided. It's felt more lopsided than that, honestly.
And part of it is because they've been in a bunch of blowout games and they've had to,
That's part of it. True. But controlling the clock would definitely, By the way, when I talked earlier about have a philosophy, you can be a clock control offense, and that could be your philosophy. That was like Marty Schottenheimer's thing 100 years ago, or whatever it was. He was all about controlling the clock back in the day.
I remember Marty Schottenheimer clearly saying, "We are a running football team."
Right. We are going to run.
Quote? Remember him say that?
Yep. We're going to control the clock, and we're going to win games by kicking a field goal at the end. That's okay.
And that's what he did, by the way.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
So I think they need to, for this week, considering the injuries, considering who they're playing, we want to have Aaron Rodgers on the field as little as possible. I just think they need to surrender and go back to who was the offensive line coach last year. That was our coach for 5 minutes.
Dang. Oh, good Lord.
Why am I blanking?
Bueller. Anyway, they need to go back to his 1973 offense. That's what I'm saying.
Now this got me.
Oh, Callahan?
Yes, thank
Bill
you.
Callahan.
From 2 years ago. You said last
they
year.
Need to have
2 years ago. Yeah.
Bill Callahan consult. Oh, that was 2 years ago. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
That's what threw
they
me
need
off.
They need to have Bill Callahan drop a game plan this week.
Right.
Especially considering they're in Green Bay and where opposing teams go to die, up there. I mean, they don't lose a lot in Green Bay. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but it's going to be worse than Maryland, that's for sure.
Probably.
Yeah. So I just think let's run the ball and keep running it until Antonio Gibson's shin falls off.
Good Lord.
Or
use Jared Patterson.
Yeah, thank you. You throw him in there, absolutely.
Right.
Give Jared Patterson 10 or 15 carries too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because Gibson, if he's hurt, I don't want to mess his whole career up. Honestly, I'm okay with putting Patterson in for a whole game.
Somebody pick your poison. One of the two of those guys or both.
Okay, do we want to do predictions? Wrap this thing up?
Do we have to?
Well, we don't have to, but you're also a creature of habit, so you have to.
We're doing a show,
right.
So we have to present you with this. But before we do that, just because I'm a masochist, I just want to point out, in case the people don't realize this, Washington's defense, just how bad it is. They're last in the NFL in points, 186.
Yay.
31st in total yards, 31st in yards surrendered. So 26th in yards per play, so that's better. Last in passing yards. Last in third down conversions. 21st in sacks, despite having 4 first-round draft picks on the offensive line. 24th in interceptions with only 4. So that is how bad their defense has been. Terrible.
So poorly built, this defense. It's amazing.
Crazy. But yeah. So predictions, I'll go first. So in spite of my saying Washington has a chance, I don't think they have a chance. Excuse me. I was lying to you at the beginning to give you false hope. No, I'm kidding. They have a chance here, but they're not going to win this game. There's no way they're going to win this game. They're going to go up there and they're going to get their butt kicked. So I'm going to say it's going to be 38-6.
Ooh. Ouch.
I think they're going to get destroyed. They don't have to, but I think this team has looked – it's like the lowest of the low right now with this team.
I think
no energy,
I don't know,
no anything.
I don't know about the roster itself, but morale around this team, the aura around this team has been really bad.
And this week seems to have really bottomed out. So
yeah.
I think this is going to be a blowout.
Okay. I could see that. I agree it's going to be a blowout. I'm not going to go quite that bad. I'll say we let up another 32 points or something like that, and we only score 14. Here's my bigger prediction. I do think they switch quarterbacks in this game at one point.
Do you?
Yeah, that's my wild card prediction.
The bigger question is, Blewett going to blow it?
Oh, Lord.
I'm sorry. Lord. Go ahead, Jamal. I had to say it. Somebody had to say it.
All right, Jamal, you're closing us.
Yeah, so for me, Washington loses. Washington loses their 3rd in a row and 4th out of 5 games. And the score is going to be somewhat, well, for Washington, if you're a bettor, the Washington line did move in favor of Washington. Green Bay were 10.5-point favorites as it opened up, and they are down to 8.5. For me, if it drops down to 7, I will be taking Green Bay because I think the score is going to be closer to like 30, 32, 33 to maybe 16. If we're lucky, 16.
Okay.
It may be worse.
I mean,
maybe
if
33
you
to 10.
think that's where it's going to be, take 10. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I like to be as secure as possible. If the number keep going down, I'll take it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I take any chance of getting the smallest number possible.
Y'all are slightly more positive than me, but I think we all agree this is not going to be a very competitive game for the most part.
I see Washington having a hard time scoring, man. It's going to be tough. Man, they don't do good against the upper echelon of teams. So,
I mean, again, I think they need to run the ball a lot. That's their only hope.
Yeah, just get out of this one. Just end this one as fast as possible. That's what I would say. All right, guys. Good talking to you. I will see you both in a week. And I will talk to everybody else then. But I won't talk to you this weekend. So talk to y'all later. Bye.